Is it just me or are books too big? Well, wait, no, I couldn't. A few years ago, I started getting ads for, I think, what was called the anxiety bookshelf. It was a tiny bookshelf. You could, have these tiny books, put them on shelves, shake them around, almost like not a fidget toy, but something to just mindlessly do with your hands. You could put the books back in, shake up the box, see all the tiny books rattle around, and then put them back on the shelf. I thought it looked really neat, for no other reason aside from the novelty of just having a tiny bookshelf with a bunch of tiny books. So my girlfriend ended up getting me this for Christmas not long after. This is not the one that I saw on TikTok. This is one off Amazon. There were a bunch of people selling, I assume much more cheaply made, but honestly just more affordable versions of this online. And I've really been enjoying it. It's exactly what I expected to want out of this. It's just a tiny bookshelf with miniature books, and you can shake it up. Look, I filled up two of the shelves, and you can shake it up, and now they're all on the ground, and you can spend time putting them back in. It's just fun. I think it taps in to the same side of my brain that likes miniature dioramas. Like, it's just cool to see something so small. I mean, this isn't so much a diorama as it is just a miniature bookshelf with a bunch of miniature, I don't even know what these are made of, but just mini books to put on shelves. Not really a diorama, but kind of has the same appeal as one, I think. And again, it's just fun to mindlessly go through and just put the books back on the shelf. There's no other real good way to describe the fun you can get out of this aside from just, it's fun organizing, I guess. There's that game on Steam about organizing a library, okay? It's the same thing except small. That's just kind of all there is to it. And I always wanted to make a video about this just because I think it's neat, but also it is a little bit fascinating what books they chose to put in here. Originally, this was going to be a let's read everything off my tiny bookshelf video. There are 200 books in here though, so that was never gonna happen. But instead, I just figured, let's just take a look. Let's take a look what's on my tiny bookshelf. What exactly did they put in here, and why did they put it in here? Like, what books deserve to get sold in a tiny bookshelf like this? The Anxiety, official bookshelf I got ads for, the website for it, they actually have a list of the books that comes inside their shelf. And I think you can even buy extra packs of books if you wanted, which sounds cool. I think that's very neat. This one, my only kind of qualm with it is if you filled up every shelf on here, it wouldn't fill up the entire bookcase. I think it would only fill up maybe the top 3 rows, but 1 row would be left untouched, which is a little unsatisfying when you put them all in. But also, I don't want to buy a second bookshelf just to put extra books in here. And I don't even want to buy the extra packs that official one has, because I technically don't know if they're the same size as these. But that point is, that official one has a list of the books, and it is very different than this one. That one, at least you can kind of get the idea of what they put in there. There's a lot of well-known classics, a lot of popular kind of current books, especially ones that are popular on Book Talk, this book side of TikTok. This one though, has a little bit more unique picks. And that's just what we're going to be talking about today. What exactly did they put in here? Because there's some weird ones in here. To start off, there are 201 books in here, all ranging from different genres, different reading levels, just kind of all over the place. And for the most part, I'd say a lot of the books on here are well-known popular books or classics. And of course, there's books that fit into both of those categories. Classics themselves are already well-known, but there's a lot of modern kind of popular ones on here. Books like Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men is on here, Lord of the Flies, a bunch of, classics that would also just be commonly used as high school literature, all in here. So a lot of easily recognizable ones. A lot of series too in completion here. You have the entirety of the Harry Potter series, both the American covers and the European covers, because they're of course different. The series of Unfortunate Events books, Hunger Games, young adults series that are very popular. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is in here. Twilight. Le Guin's Earthsea series is in here, bafflingly enough. It's a cool inclusion, but just not one I would have expected to see alongside Twilight, Hunger Games, all that. And a few recent kind of popular series, a lot of, again, series that were popular on Book Talk. So you have the Hawthorne Legacy trilogy, the ACOTAR series, and the Schollomancy series, a trilogy of magic school books that came out around 2020, or started to come out around 2021 by Nomi Novik. I remember when these were coming out, especially when J.K. Rowling's views at the time were becoming a little bit more public. A lot of people were saying, yeah, this is our new Harry Potter. This is our new magic school. Everyone should, get invested into. I heard good things about it. But personally, I kind of don't care. Because in terms of Naomi Novik's books, I think they should have done a different series. Just a different, don't put the Schollomancy. Maybe you should have done His Majesty's Dragon, the Temeraire books. A lot of full series of books, but also a couple instances where I'd say bafflingly they didn't include the full series for some reason. The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe is the only Narnia book in here, and it also has the movie cover of the book. So I guess that's why that was just, the most popular one that people may know because of the movie. Even though they did make other movies, I think that's still just the one most people know. Would have been neat to have the rest of the series. It's kind of baffling that they weren't there. Although if they were to include the rest, screw the movie cover of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I love, personally, I love Chris Van Allsburg's covers of the Narnia series. He's the artist behind Zathura, Jumanji. He has gorgeous art, and his covers for the Narnia books are, in my mind, what I think of whenever I think of that series. So, yeah. Note to the creators of whoever did this. You should do that. Do those covers and include the rest of the Narnia series. And Game of Thrones, or I guess A Song of Ice and Fire is the series called. The first book, Game of Thrones, is in here, but not the rest of the series. No clue why. It's just a little bad. They're both popular series. Why not include the rest of the books? Could not tell you why. And while it isn't a series per se, there are a lot of Penguins Classics in here with the Penguins Classics covers. There's a bunch of both Penguins Classics and Penguin Popular Classics. I think most people would recognize the Penguin Classics covers. Those are, I think, the more easily iconic, recognizable ones. The Penguin Popular Classics, I kind of don't know the distinction between them aside from them just being two different lines of classic books that Penguin tends to reprint. I could not tell you what the difference is. I don't know what designates one as being a Penguins Classic versus a Penguins Popular Classic. They just have different cover designs. Penguin Classics have, half the cover is black, and then you have the title of the book, title of the author, and then some sort of art or something to kind of represent the book up top. And then Penguins Popular Classics is the same thing where you just have this art of the book and then the title in this yellow oval with the author's name and stuff in the same font. And I kind of don't know why each of these kind of got put in each series as they were. None of these, I think, are reprinted. For some reason, like, for instance, I'm pretty sure Little Women and Middlemarch both also have Penguins Classics covers, but for some reason, the Penguin Popular Classics covers is the one that's included in here. Could not tell you why. And yeah, just a lot of other random ones. For the Penguin Classics, you have Count of Monte Cristo, Tale of Two Cities, Crime and Punishment, Brothers Karamazov, Anna Karenina, Picture of Dorian Gray. Great book. A Room of One's Own and Three Guinness. That's a double kind of 2-in-1 book, I think, from the same author, Virginia Woolf. And The Odyssey. And for the Penguin Popular Classics, you have Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Middlemarch, Little Women, Huckleberry Finn, Tess of the Dubervilles, Les Mis, and Hunchback of Notre Dame. Just an interesting selection of each. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of the ones that have Penguin Popular Classics releases also have Penguin Classics releases, so don't really know how that ended up being the way it is. There was also one Penguin Classics book that I could not place. I swear to God, I was looking through lists and lists of every single Penguin Classics book ever released, and I could not find this book with what looks like a stroller or pram on the front of it. I could not find it. There were, a slew of books in here that I could not identify, but we'll get to those. In addition to all those, there were a fair amount of duplicate books in here. Both duplicates of books that just had two of the same cover. I'm pretty sure the entirety of the Twilight series just had two of each in here. Both of the iconic, like, cover with the apple, cover with the rose, chess pieces, whatever. But also dupes where it was just two different covers for the same book. I couldn't tell you why. Picture of Dorian Gray had two covers. One of them was the Penguin Classics version I just mentioned, but also just a regular cover of the book. Handmaid's Tale, same with Frankenstein, The Hunger Games, Lord of the Flies. There were 3 copies of 1984, although it was kind of weird. One of the copies was just the slogan to the book, and as far as I can tell, has never actually been used as a cover. It's just the slogan, so I don't know, but it technically counts, I guess, for 1984. Couple for Animal Farm, The Great Gatsby, and 100 Years of Solitude, which I think is the only book in here that I currently own the real version of. I couldn't even start reading this bookshelf. I literally only have one, and the other ones I've read have either been borrowed or, digital copies of the book. So that's the only one I own physically that's also in here. So yeah, a lot of series classics, especially through the Penguin lines, and just other random books. A lot of course, the ones that got duplicates were already well-known classics or just popular books in general. In terms of the spread of books, the vast majority of books featured in here, even including the classics, have all released within the last, 30 years, I would say. A lot of very popular recent books post-2000s, and a lot of other classics, but for the most part, even the older books are still around the late 90s, 80s, 70s, Of course, you have some outliers, like Homer's The Odyssey, and a couple Shakespeare plays were included in here as well. So those very old, very early on. Homer even further back than Shakespeare. But aside from that, a lot of very recent books. I think it very much skews towards the recent end of things. And in terms of popularity, there are, again, a lot of very popular classics, just current books in here, but also a kind of confusing and startling amount of not so popular books I had no idea existed. You have a fair amount of books that have under 10,000 ratings on Goodreads, which I would already say is not that popular of a book, hits the pretty niche side of things, but also a startling amount that are under 5,000, then under 1,000, and even under 100. There's quite a few books in here that only maybe have 10 reviews. I cannot tell you why. And some where there were seemingly only 1 or 2 ratings, or sometimes even 0. And in those cases, I'm not even sure I ID'd the right book, because where are you pulling these covers from? A lot of the lower reviewed books are, more religious or spiritual texts, which I guess makes sense. Maybe one random pastor just decided to release his book about spirituality, and no one read it. Maybe 1 or 2 people on Goodreads reviewed it, and somehow it made its way into here, and I could not tell you why. Also in here is a textbook, specifically the 2nd edition of a mathematical theory textbook. No clue how that ended up in here, and don't know why the 2nd edition specifically, but neat, I suppose. Speaking of the super less popular, more unknown books, I guess that leads me into this, final section of talking about this, because again, a lot of these are popular, just kind of makes sense why they'd be in here. But a good amount of them, I could not either ID them or just couldn't. I don't think they exist. I don't think these books are real. So first off, the books I just straight up couldn't find, and I don't know, maybe someone out there can do a better job IDing them than I can. I had no luck whatsoever finding them. There's The King's Queen by Eleanor Richards. I could make out the title and author on this one, which is great. Some of the other ones, as you'll see, I couldn't find anything to search. But for the life of me, no matter how much Googling I tried to do, I could not find this book, which leads me to believe it is not real. Otherwise, I feel like if you have the full author and title, you should be able to find it. But for now, I'm just going to say I couldn't find it, so no idea what this one is. Reformation of Character by Hadrat Malama Hakim Muhammad Akhtar. This is what I kind of ID'd this book at. I'm not confident that this is actually what it is. The cover only has the title of the book, and this was the only book I could find, at least on Goodreads, that had this title. No clue if it's the same one. I couldn't find the exact copy of the cover online, so no idea where this was pulled from. The Sign of Two by Keith M. Blair, same as The King's Queen, likely not real. I could make out the title and author, just could not find it anywhere, so I feel like this one just doesn't exist, but technically I just couldn't find it, so it goes in that category for now. Needs. I could barely make out the author's name on this, so No clue if this one exists either, but I don't know. The cover looks generic enough. That's the thing with a lot of these too. The ones I straight up couldn't find had really generic looking covers, so for all I know, they could either exist or not exist, and I would have no idea. Trinity by Shiel Anders. I have two of these. There's duplicates. They're likely not real. I don't know this one either. I couldn't find this one either. Darling? It's the only word I could make out in the front. I'm not even going to try to find it. There's the Penguin Classics book I mentioned with the stroller on the cover. I straight up just couldn't find it. I'm sure it exists. I don't know why you'd suddenly make a fake Penguin Classics book cover. I don't know, maybe people do that and it found its way into here. Couldn't find it though. As far as I'm concerned, it exists. I don't know, I'm too lazy to keep going through the entire catalog of Penguin Classics to try and find it. Letter to My Beloved, no clue. The only book with Beloved in the title that I know is Toni Morrison's Beloved, and this is definitely not that, so no clue what this one is. Limitless, couldn't find, another generic title. And then this one with a paper boat on the cover. I couldn't even make out the title on this one, so I couldn't tell you if this one even exists. I had really nothing to search aside from book with paper boat on the cover. Another one with a tree on the cover that I just had no idea what it was. Couldn't make out the title, same as the paper boat one. Couldn't search it. And then a book called Veto Mountain. Couldn't find it. No idea what this book is. Don't think it's real. But even if it is real, Veto Mountain is a horrible title. I can't imagine this book would be real. Why would you ever read a book called Veto Mountain? So those are all the books I just straight up couldn't find. And that kind of leads me into my next section, which is all the books that aren't real, that just straight up don't exist. There are a lot of books in here that are just fake covers for books that don't exist, and it's kind of crazy. I don't know why they're here. First off, is No Man's Sky a fan-made cover for a fake book inspired by the video game? Don't know how it made its way in here. I assume just someone stripped the fan-made cover they found online and just put it in here for some reason. There's The Palace by Rosalind Devereaux. Rosalind Devereaux is not a real author. This is just a pre-designed generic romance cover that you could buy if you wanted to. Some designer put it out online. There's The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler, which that is a real book by the very real prolific author Raymond Chandler, but the cover is not real. This cover specifically was the winner of a 2013 design competition for fake book covers, and this book cover, even though it won, was never actually used as a printed cover for the book. Don't know why it's here. The Hill of the Red Fox by Ellen Campbell McLean. This was another design contest reel. The book is real, cover isn't. There's a book cover Tuts Plus. I'm assuming that's just short for tutorial. Not real, also just kind of a fake template design for people to use. There's Dark is the Way by John Miller. This is also fake concept art for a book, specifically one that is made in a YouTube tutorial for how to design book covers. No clue how it made its way from that YouTube tutorial to here. Then there's three books, After the End, Humility, and The Power of You, all of which are by the same author. Author name. These are all just templates. I liked when it had author name because it was funny to see, but also just made it blatant that these are just templates, free templates, I guess, for basic designs of books. If you really need a cover, I don't know. And then my favorite one, just a blank book. Just a blank book cover. There's no title, there's nothing. It's just a generic brown leather-bound cover for a book that you could, I don't know, use as a texture for something. All of these not real book covers just leads me to believe that a lot of the covers used for the books in here were probably just in some, I don't know, free pack of like basic book cover designs that whoever manufactured this just kind of pulled and was able to use for free for these, which is why you have a lot of the more popular ones who I'm sure their covers are just kind of floating around online. What is still baffling to me is that there are just so many niche covers in here still that just found their way into this collection, specifically like the ones that are used for YouTube tutorials. Just like, yeah, I'm gonna copy paste this and post them on this thing. These are probably all just part of some free book cover design pack that you can get. There are a lot of packs for these. I see a lot of them for sale, or at least advertisements for them on Pinterest of all places. Don't know why, but I imagine that's just where whoever made this got the designs from. They just mindlessly downloaded them. Especially, again, a lot of the lesser popular books, somehow their covers made it into here too. No idea. So for that reason, I'm a little happy that I decided to not do a let's read everything on my tiny bookshelf video. Not only would that require me to read like 200 books, but also a lot of these don't exist, so that would have been pointless to start with. Some other very notable books, because again, I did go through and catalog every single one of these, and there were just some very interesting one-offs in here that I found. Fishing in Utopia by Andrew Brown, that's the original title of the book. For some reason, the book in here uses the title Dreaming of Sweden, The Future That Disappeared, which was a re-release for the book. I don't know if it was like a worldwide re-release or just a reprint that they did later on, but that cover is used in here. There's The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice, which is only puzzling because that's here, and not the book that it is a sequel to, which is Interview with a Vampire, which is arguably, I think, the more well-known book. Like, it's the one that birthed, What We Do in the Shadows. I think like a lot of popular vampire media has arisen because of Interview with a Vampire, but for some reason the sequel's in here and that one isn't. A little interesting. Exception by Aurore Ava. I'm not even gonna try pronouncing that last name. I couldn't find the cover, but I found the book in a blog post about books. So I'm going to assume that the book is real and the cover is too. I couldn't find it anywhere online except for this blog post. So I just can't get confirmation. I'm assuming that same blog post is also, for some reason, whoever made this pack pulled that cover from. Just a bit weird. The Greatest Adventure of All Time by David Newton. For some reason, the author isn't listed. Don't know why. I already mentioned The Great Gatsby because there's duplicates of it in here. I mention it because one of the covers is a cover that was only used in a deluxe hardbound edition of the book, which I just think is super random. The other book cover in here I mentioned too because it's very ugly. I think it's a very ugly book cover. It looks disgusting. I think the normal Great Gatsby book cover is good, iconic, it looks great. This one looks super ugly. I don't know why you would ever use this book cover. Animal Farm, only notable because in my search for all these books, I found the artist for the book cover for this one. The art was done by Shepard Fairey, which just neat. After looking through so many book covers online, it was just fun to find the actual artist there. Enchantress is a book that I had duplicates of and is only notable because I found one of the covers. It's the cover I think that's used in a lot of places. But the second cover, I straight up couldn't find anywhere online, which is only weird because this is a pretty unknown book. I think it only has a little under 10,000 reviews on Goodreads maybe. It's a very unknown book, but for some reason, I straight up could not find the second cover of it online. I have no clue where they pulled this cover from. It's an unknown book that exists, but for some reason, this cover's nowhere. It's so weird. Just Friends, I did find this book. It was just frustrating because there are way too many books called Just Friends. It's just a PSA, stop using that title. It's generic. I hate it. It was hard to find this book because of it. The Caves of Tavenar by W.J. Lennox. Couldn't find the cover for this one anywhere. Also weird because it's not a super popular book, so I don't know why I couldn't find it. Also, for some reason, this book doesn't have a Wikipedia article, but it does have a Grokpedia article, which is weird. Don't know how that happened. And last but not least, The Outsiders. Ugly cover. That's all I have to say about it. It's very ugly. Doesn't represent the book well at all. Very bad. And that's kind of it for this. Nothing else to really say aside from it's really neat what books are in here. I love this tiny bookshelf thing. It is fun again to just kind of go through, shake it up, organize it. Explaining this makes it seem boring and pointless, but I swear I think it's fun and neat and just a little bit, it's a fun novelty, okay? And I guess alongside all that, it's just a little interesting what books they include in here. I have no idea. I could not tell you why some of these books are in here. But maybe at some point I'll make a point of reading all the classics that are in here. I'm definitely not interested in reading every single book in here. There are books and series that I've never heard of. A lot of, again, religious and spiritual books that I kind of have no interest in ever reading. So I don't think I'd read every single book in here, but I don't know. I think it would be cool to kind of read a lot of the more well-known classics that are in here. Use this as kind of a fun checklist for it. But that's gonna have to do it for this one. Thank you for joining me as I go through what's in this my tiny bookshelf. See you, I don't know, in the next episode where I read every single book in here. I find what that stupid Penguin Classics book with the cover stroller is. Also, I guess I should, can you read this? I put this way too far away. It's just a dumb joke, but just for posterity, okay? So you could read it. It's not just up there with the font too small. I made it small because it's a tiny bookshelf. I forgot that I would then have to put it behind me and it'd be small and you couldn't read it, so whatever, it's fine. I'll organize my tiny bookshelf now, it's okay.